Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for joining me on this morning talk. Hey guys, I'm going to take a break from the Revelation thing today. I wanted to talk about a subject that I'm not sure how well it's going to fly here on YouTube. I'm going to have to do a lot of code speak, folks, but just bear with me. Read between the lines, just I think a lot of you are going to understand what I'm talking about, but it needs to be talked about. And it's unfortunate that so many people are completely ignorant to how the real world works. But I think you guys are smart enough to understand this stuff. But what I'm talking about here is the whole Epstein thing, right? Like, look at Elon Musk just recently posted on X, basically alluding to Trump being connected to Epstein, asking if he was on those flight logs and on the Epstein list, right? And of course, conservatives, Trump backers were just, going crazy. They're either hating on Elon, or the ones that are starting to maybe like Elon more than Trump are going to his side, and it's just all this back and forth. And look, folks, I know this is about a week old now, but however, it's still a lingering thing, and it's actually more important now than you can imagine because of what's going on right now between Israel and Iran, right? And this Bibi clown. Well, look, folks, I'm not here to bash Trump here, for or against. Obviously, he's a million times better than Kamala. That's not even questionable at this point. And there's been some good things, some massive disappointments too. But I typically don't get into a lot of politics about people directly, exclusively. But I don't know. Like I mentioned, you guys know. I'm more of a hermeticist. I'm more of a centrist. I can look at both sides of the coin and see the goods on one side and the bads, and then vice versa. So I've always told you guys, look, dominant role or control by either the right or left always leads to tyranny. Always. It doesn't matter. Like, look, when the far right is in total control, total power, they spend just as much, if not more, than the left. And they typically pour all that money into the military-industrial complex. And then you start getting the Christian right starts gaining, power when the right is in control. And then right away they start, pushing moral laws on everybody, right? You can't do this, you can't do that. Well, why? Because it's against our religion. So they want to force their viewpoints on everybody, right? Like the whole gay marriage thing, for instance. Look, folks, I don't care who wants to marry who, okay? And this whole union is between man and woman according to the Bible and all that. I've already told you guys, look, the Bible's man written, okay? And yes, now according to nature, if you want to go down that road, obviously men and women were designed to couple and reproduce. So when it all comes down to that, I'd actually trust nature over any religious, statements made by men, right? Or written in a book by men. But the right, when the right's in power, you get tyranny. Look, folks, the right was in power for a long time in the Middle Ages. And what you have? You had genocide and tyranny across the whole globe, because the conquistadors, the Spanish, the Portuguese, a lot of your countries that had massive shipping fleets that were trading around the world and exploring, they always had their priests, and they would always bring forced what do you call it when somebody conversion. They always brought forced conversion to every place they showed up on, every island, every landmass they showed up on. It was convert or get the sword. Conversion by the sword and cross. And then they'd wipe out that culture, wipe out their religious beliefs, right? Wipe out their history, tear down their structures, replace, they would put churches on top, or cathedrals on top of Mayan and Aztec ruins after they destroy them. In Mexico and a lot of places, you'll find these churches on these hills. Well, folks, those aren't hills. They're on top of pyramids. Okay? That's, it's a sign of conquering, right? And I've already explained to you guys the whole Enlil versus Enki, the eagle versus the serpent, the Mexican flag with the eagle holding the serpent in its clutches, that Enlil's clan defeated Enki's clan because they had fled to the Americas, and they taught the people in the Americas how to build civilization, pyramids, and astronomy, and science, and all these other things, mathematics. And then Enlil's clan showed up on their shores and decimated all of them. And basically Enlil's clan defeated all of the Enkiite clans that were in the Americas, okay? I've done videos on this, folks. I've told you that the wars always goes back to the Anunnaki. All the time. Every time. Either them directly or through their bloodline children or half-children. Okay? But this whole Epstein thing, to get back to that, I know I'm straying, folks, sorry. And look, the left, folks, obviously, Marxism, government, boot on your neck control, no religious rights, when the left is in power. And look, they both lead to tyranny. They both want to tell you how to live your life, right? And they both want to control the tax money. Look, the left and right are both evil, folks. If you haven't figured that out yet, it's obvious. Anytime a human being is polarized to the far right or the far left in their thinking, in the way they operate, they become part of a group think, and when that group gains the upper hand, they become tyrannical, and they support the tyranny. Okay, folks, this is the way it always is. So for the few of us that walk the middle path, trying to bring our left and right brain, hemispheres into balance, and our energies into balance, and our thinking into balance, we're a small percentage. For those of you that are more centrists, and I know that your book, the Bible will say you're a fence sitter, right? You're the one that God was, wanted to spit you out because you're neither hot nor cold. You're just lukewarm, right? Yeah. Why do you think they put that in the Bible, folks? Because they don't want people actually bringing themselves into balance and harmony, where they can think logically and look at things from the right or left point of view, right? Of course they don't want that. They want people divided and polarized, okay? Duh. Just like, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Pay Caesar his taxes. Yeah, you think Yeshua was all hyped up on making sure you paid your taxes to Rome? I mean, give me a break, folks. That was God writing the Bible. Yeah, the creator of all, essentially the universe, all the dimensions, everything, part of this one mind, is so worried about this one little tiny part of his creation that he's going to come write books, tell you how to live, right? The God of vengeance and this and that. Worried about you paying your taxes to Caesar and stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, folks, it's a joke, man. It's... Wow. Anyways, I'm sorry for the tangent, folks. The whole Epstein thing, look. I've done a video on this in the past. The Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, her father was a major head of the Mossad, okay? He was at major position, or had a major position in the Mossad. For those of you who don't know what the Mossad is, it's Israeli intelligence. It's like the CIA or MI6 with the British. And they are heavily connected. All of these intelligence agencies, including the French intelligence agency, what do they call them? The Five Eyes, Six Eyes? I don't know. Some stupid bullshit like that, right? Well, folks, look. They all work together. And what they do is, because intelligence agencies aren't supposed to spy on their own citizens, they have each other spy on their citizens for them, right? Like the U.S. will have British intelligence spy on U.S. citizens, and then they can share intelligence. They get around it, folks. They're scum, okay? But this is how the real world works, and that's how the deep state works. Well, the whole Ghislaine, her father being top person in Mossad, she was obviously born and grown up and groomed to be an agent for the Mossad, okay? Now, what you had going on Epstein Island was you had an intelligence honey trap. You had MI6, at least presumably, right? CIA and Mossad, but most importantly Mossad, involved in running this operation. And what they were doing, folks, was they would entice powerful people, politicians, lawyers, judges, celebrities, media people to parties on Epstein Island. They would get them, just like the Diddy party. Look, I think Diddy was probably an agent. He was probably a CAA agent, to be honest, which is a Hollywood entertainment industry wing of the CIA. That they work for the CIA. They do propaganda through media and music on the population, right? They kind of like control the culture, so to speak, through music and entertainment. And they do it at the behest of the CIA. That's the CAA. Look it up. Research it. Guaranteed, Diddy was a CAA top agent running a similar operation that Epstein was, but, in LA, okay? In different parts of the U.S., where probably New York and LA was probably where he's throwing most of his parties, right? But what they do is they entice these powerful people there. They have these parties. People are doing stuff. Maybe they're doing stronger stuff than you or I could imagine. They kind of lose their way, and then all of a sudden the entertainment's brought out for the late end of the party, right? And they probably weed out the people that are sober. They kick them out, and they close up the doors behind those or those that are targets. And then they bring out the entertainment. And maybe it starts out as legit, like 18-year-olds and stuff, right? But then as the party gets a little deeper into the night, all of a sudden they bring out the next wave, and they get younger and younger, if you get my meaning. And then they're like, they have these bedrooms, and they send these politicians and lawyers and stuff, the judges, and they end up going to the room, and one of these hosts, we'll call this, okay, if you get the hostesses, okay, we'll take one of them to one of the rooms, and then They have cameras in every room, mics. Everything is bugged. You know, this drugged out, high-powered judge in there in this room with maybe one or two of these hostesses. And you get my meaning, folks. It's all recorded. Now, a few days later, that judge probably gets a random text message that says, essentially, you're ours. We have everything that you did the other night on video. It would destroy you. You could go to prison. Your family will disown you. You'll lose you'll go from being this rich, high-powered judge with influence and power to prison, and everybody will hate you, including your own family. Your life will be destroyed. So we will contact you again in the future when we need your assistance. When we need you deciding on a certain case or something, right? Or a politician, they'll be like, when we need you to vote a certain way, we'll let you know. And if you try to get out of this, we got eyes on you, and we'll release this at any time. And see, this is how it works, folks. And they do it to celebrities too. They do it to, look, it gets to the point that all these people that go to these parties, they all know that they're all had. And after a while, they figure, well, as long as they roll in the same group of people and they all work together, and it's typically against the population, right, against the U.S. citizens, for the benefit of the criminal world elite, as long as they stay in that club, their secrets are kept, right? Makes you wonder what Diddy did for them to finally bust that all up. He must have turned on somebody, or he thought he got too smart, or maybe he tried to blackmail the wrong person. But look, folks, the point I'm trying to make here is that it was an operation run by the U.S., by Israel, and by more than likely the British had their hands in it, possibly the French, and, was it Canadian or Australian? I can't remember what other, was it the 5 or 6 Eyes, right? All these major deep state intelligence agencies that all work together. They probably all used the island. They probably all sent their own politicians there. They probably all sent their own judges and lawyers there, celebrities, okay? Folks, this stuff has probably been going on for this has probably been going on for thousands of years. This is probably how they control, even in the past, in Rome and stuff. They probably same tactics were being used in Rome and Greece and all these other. It could have been in China at the height of its power, Ming Dynasty and all that. Look, it's not like this is anything new, folks, okay? Court intrigue and all that. Now it may have been different ways that they were doing this, right? Based on that time's culture and everything, because look, it wasn't like in the Middle Ages they had this 18 years old like age limit, for like we do in the US, right? In fact, a lot of European countries and stuff have a lot like 16 and under. Some of them. A lot of these Middle Eastern countries, there is no laws on that. The U.S. actually is probably more strict on that than a lot of places. But the U.S. is also the world power broker. So, you can gain a lot more control over blackmailing a U.S. politician than, say, an Australian politician, right? But think about the massive control and influence Epstein had. Now you wonder why we'll never get the truth about Epstein. In fact, I question if Epstein ever was even. I think that was it was a whole cover-up, and he was taken out of there, and he's being protected right now somewhere. Because he was one of their top agents, folks. Unless he crossed somebody, the wrong person or something, or he was obeying his own directives that they're given to him. Either they took him out to protect all these people, they took him out because he failed the mission, or he was running the mission just great until all this became public, and so they swooped him out of there. Because there's a lot of people that seen the, the earlobes and all that, right? On the body double, right? I don't know, folks. Just speculation. But the point I'm trying to make here, ultimately, is that this is your government. This is how your government operates. This is why your politicians will never work on your behalf. This is why politicians you have a lot of faith in, you think they're good people, right? They get in there, like they actually maybe want to do good, and maybe they're, really big on the Constitution and liberty and cleaning up corruption and saving the country from collapse economically. And then they get in there and you notice how they start changing, right? They start changing. And then they, all of a sudden they start voting against what they used to stand for, right? Well, you want to know why? Because they probably went to Epstein Island or a similar honeypot trap just like that, right? Look, folks, we know this stuff's real. I know. Look, a good example is remember Madison Cawthorn, the Republican congressman. He was actually from my neck of the woods here, Western North Carolina. He was the one in a wheelchair. Remember that he'd been I think he'd been a soldier. I don't know if that's how he got injured or what, but he was wheelchair bound, really good looking guy. I mean, geez, the guy's like a model basically, and his wife too, right? And anyways, he got blackballed by Chuck Schumer and by what was the guy before not Schumer, Schumer's the Senate one, right? Dang it, what's his name? We've gone through so many Republican dang it, it's right on the top of my head. I could picture the guy, just can't remember his name. Anyways, the Republican guy that was the head of the House, right? The Republican House, leader. Anyways, Madison Cawthorn came out and did an interview, and he was telling this interviewer how him and his wife were invited to a DC party, and how at this DC party, as the night wore on, there was people there that were telling him that they wanted to use his wife. They wanted him to share his wife. And they said, don't worry, this is a normal thing. And he wouldn't do it. I mean, like I said, his wife was beautiful. He didn't want to do it. And he was a new junior congressman, right? And he came out in this interview talking about that, how it was they're all like swingers, essentially. And not only that, it was like a power play, right? You're a junior congressman, you got to give us your wife. That's how you prove your loyalty to us, right? If you want to pass bills, if you want to have influence, you've got to give up your wife as a token agreement, like a blackmail, right? And then he talked about how they had coke and hookers at the party and all this. And he said it was like a den of criminals that he'd never seen before. He couldn't believe that DC was so corrupt. And what do you know happened? Right after that, the Republican Party blackballed him hard. They put all the money into a candidate to defeat him in the next election. And that was it. That was how quick he was in and out. I mean, they dealt with him quickly. And this is the real world, folks, okay? And that was just a DC party. What if he'd been invited to Epstein Island and ended up going, right? I mean, I'm telling you, folks, this is how it works. So all this talk, about, the list, why was Pam Bondi going to release it? Is this person going to release it? Is that person going to release it? The truth is, folks, is that none of this stuff will ever get released. Because they can't release it, okay? Because all the politicians are involved in it. And not only that, it's too powerful of a tool for influence and power. Okay? They're never going to release that stuff. That's just the truth. So all of you thinking that, Trump is going to release it, or his people, or Kash Patel, or Bongino, or Pam Bondi, or... Look, folks, none of them are ever going to release it because half of your, or not all, half, all of your Democrats and Republicans in some way or another have already been blackmailed, and they're all part of it. See, if you start bringing down one or two people, the whole deck of cards collapses. And then, even deeper than that, they keep playing games with this stuff because they don't want you to know that the CIA is running it with Mossad. Now look at what's going on with Iran and Israel. And you wonder why half of our politicians in Congress are dual citizens, why they fly this lapel, why it's Israel first all the time. You wonder why they're all warmongering for Israel, right? Why we give billions in defense spending to Israel, right? Why we protect them even when they're committing, mass dismissals and bombings of other people, right? If you get my meaning. I don't even know what I'm allowed to talk about with this subject. I may be getting in trouble for even saying Israel or Mossad or any of this stuff. But look, folks, it doesn't take much of an imagination or an understanding to see what's going on here, okay? It's simple. They're all in the club, folks. Don't you get it? You cannot be a power broker in Congress, in the Senate. You can't be in the Supreme Court. You can't be one of these top judges, federal judges, state judges, high circuit judges, all these judges, right? That all follow the bar, which is British. It's not even U.S., okay? Just like our Federal Reserve's owned by the City of London, which is actually the Rothschild banking system. Guess who they are? And guess who set up that country and paid for its founding? The Rothschilds, folks. All of you Christians on here, glazing, as the young kids would say, right? Glazing that country, like, oh, they're the chosen people, we gotta protect them according to God at all costs, and blah 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 blah. A lot of ignorant people, dude. Wow, I can't even believe it, man. I mean, literally one of the most despicable countries on earth. That's literally was founded by globalist banking families. I mean, literally the people that enslave you and your family and every your countrymen and every nation on earth. Yeah, those great people, right? They founded that country, right? And you all over here glazing them up and down, right? I mean, I can't even believe the stupidity of Christians, man. It's unbelievable, man. Religion is such an easy way to control and manipulate people. It's crazy. I mean, I remember out when the whole the vid started out here. I remember all these, because I live in the South, dude, where every corner you turn, there's a church, right? And how many of these churches were closed down, had wear masks, get your jabber. Like, literally, you could see it on the doors of the churches. It would say, mask up, get your jabbers, save your neighbors, protect your neighbors in your community. I mean, wow, dude. Really? Yeah, well, Pastor Daniel, he's, make sure you wear that mask. Make sure you wear that mask there, son. Save Grandma. And make sure you put that magic potion in ya. Now, don't listen to my sermon about pharmakia now, okay? This ain't pharmakia, okay? This is saving Grandma. We don't need to mix up pharmakia and saving Grandma, okay? Well, these guys are such clowns, man. Sometimes I look at this whole world and I'm just like, what in the hell place am I living in, man? This place is such a clown show. It's unbelievable. But, we're being walked into mass conflagration. Basically, Israel right now is they decided to go all in on Iran, and now they're just expecting us to jump in on it, right? Okay, you guys come finish the job now. We started it. And of course, Trump's putting on this falsetto that, oh, we're not going to get involved, even though it's our weapons, our planning, our coordinating, doing all this, right? Our intelligence. I mean, come on, man. He's trying to put on a false front like we ain't involved in this. But look, folks, I remember the videos I've been doing recently about Revelation. We all know what happens, at least according to Revelation, if Revelation is true prophecy, or if it is the true playbook, right, of the elite. We know what is slated to happen. And it looks like these people are going to force this to happen. Now Pakistan's saying that if Israel hits Iran with a, you know what, I don't even know if I can say the word, right? A particular device, right? They're saying that they will hit Israel. So even if Iran doesn't have them, that they're saying they have them, this other country could be the one to do it. And I'm telling you, folks, they're trying to do anything they can to kick off the big WWW trace, okay? Anything they can. And these people are psychopaths. These people are freaks. And I've told you what is behind all of this. Well, it's because with their new AI systems that they are about ready to roll out on a massive scale, it's going to take away eventually 80% of the jobs on the earth, okay? What do you do with all those people? Well, you don't want those people, if you get my meaning, right? So ways to knock out large amounts of people is, guess what? And now you question, well, what about them? They'll have to live through the fallout and all that, right? Well, no, they've been planning for 80 plus years. They've been building underground cities, folks. Look, when I used to live in Colorado, my dad did some construction stuff. Okay, I'm not going to say particularly what he did, but when you hang around like the construction community, like around Denver and all that, you get to know people. Well, he talked to people that said that they were working on underground cities underneath DIA, underneath the Denver International Airport. Okay, big cities, literally like there's like city blocks underground. I mean, just massive city complex. And I guess the intrigue is that it connects Iron Mountain and like the Air Force Academy and all these important bases and stuff around Colorado. And it's like just this giant underground complex, because you guys know, right, that Denver is the backup capital of the United States in case of a continuation of government, COG incident, right? Like if DC is wiped out, Denver becomes the new backup capital, and all operations are underground, so it can't easily be taken out. So, anyways, guys, look, this world is not what you think it is. It's the people that run this world are not who you think they are, and everybody can be touched. Okay, they get at these politicians no matter what. It's either you pay them off, you get them in one of these honeypot traps, or you just good old blackmail or threatening, right? But they end up controlling every single politician. Now, some politicians, they give them a little bit of a leash to put on the front that they care about you, that they're trying to fight for the American people, right? Like, I think of somebody who I've typically backed most of my life are the Pauls, like Rand Paul, right? Because I'm more of a libertarian. Like I said, I'm more of a centrist. And I am a hardcore constitutionalist. But I'm not a rightist Republican, okay, folks? Because the Republicans have never represented the Constitution or liberty. They're a false front, just like the left. Don't care about people, really. It's a fake. It's fake. It's all fake. But I've watched Rand Paul over the last few years, and a lot of his stuff he backs is fine and his typical self. But then I see weird things that he like goes against or he's for that doesn't make sense. Like he's always one of those deciding votes, nay or for or against. He's always one of the wild cards in the Republican Party. And I realized, wow, they've got something on Rand too. I mean, they've touched, all these people are touched. They're in some way, they've got a leash on them, some way or another. Some are maybe given longer leashes, other ones short leashes, right? Some are just complete lapdogs, you know? Like Nancy Pelosi, she's a total lapdog. Like, she won't even hide the fact she's a lapdog. She just is like, I mean, to the day she's gone, finally, I mean, can we wish and pray for that day? I mean, these people are like corpses in there, and they're still in there, right? I mean, Feinstein, I mean, damn. Some of them, it's like you wonder if their last day is sleeping in that chamber and they pass because they're so freaking old and worthless. But I don't know, man. It just makes me realize, man, is there any hope, folks? Uh, our systems are so corrupt and so taken over. And all those things Doge uncovered, Congress won't act on it. You know why? Because all of Congress is money laundering. All of them. Republicans and Democrats. They're all using those stolen funds from the taxpayers. A lot of that money is getting funneled into black projects, into these tunnel systems, into these, high-tech DARPA systems and all this that are kept from the public use for military. But a lot of that money is being funneled to these politicians through money laundering schemes too. So they're all getting rich off of it. See, it's all, not only are they going to Epstein Island and they doing stuff and other honeypots around the nation, right? Going to Diddy freak off parties and stuff like Obama, right? But as part of the deal, right? It's like, okay, we got blackmail in here, but now you're in the club. So now, as long as you toe the line, not only will we not let the public see these videos and this evidence of what you've done, but we're going to let you start dipping your hands in the pot. Okay? Go get this NGO started up, and we'll make sure that money gets funneled to your NGO organization. Now you got to set it up under other people and under other names, but we'll teach you how to do that. Okay? And keep it away from the public's prying eyes. Yeah, it's all scam, folks. All of it. In fact, I think NGOs should be cut off 100% from taxpayer money unless they are an open, audited, regularly audited, open to the open books, open what they're actually freaking doing and what they're not to the public. No NGO should get any money from the taxpayers because our taxpayer money is not supposed to be paying for non-government agencies or organizations. And now we're looking at through Doge what all these organizations were about. They were about taking our rights away. They were about subverting and dividing the populations, about pushing freaky, weird, creepy shit and grooming and shit, right? And how much of that money, I wonder, was funneling Epstein Island and Epstein? I bet a lot of it. In fact, I bet you there's probably an NGO that's floating around out there that's being kept from the public that was specifically designed to funnel taxpayer money to run the honeypot operation known as Epstein Island. I'm telling you, folks, it's all out there. It's all in your face. I don't even know if this video will make the cut on YouTube. If it doesn't and they pull it or something, I'm going to put it on Rumble, okay, folks? I don't do very many videos on Rumble. Rumble's like uploading system sucks ass. I tried doing Rumble equally with YouTube for a long time. And it's like I could download a video on YouTube and then that same video I'd go try to put on Rumble and it would take like 10 tries and I just gave up. It'd be like uploading, got interrupted, restart, uploading, got interrupted. I mean, it was stupid. Rumble systems are not near as good as YouTube's. But I think this video is important enough. Even, of course, I could have plainly spoke on the video on Rumble. And if you guys would if you guys would be willing to go with me over to Rumble and have me do uncensored videos, let me know. I can do that too. Maybe once a week I can do a Rumble video and then the rest YouTube. If I can get the Rumble video to upload, But if this one gets pulled from YouTube, then it's going to be, I'll try to do it on Rumble. And I always put the link to my Rumble channel, folks, in the description, okay? So if you guys are wondering any information you need, my new Facebook channel or any of that, it's always in the descriptions, okay, folks? Questions about the Zooms, and all that kind of stuff, I have all that down in the description also. So anyways, guys, I'm going a little later than I wanted to on this video. I need to get in here and get to work. So I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.